Hey guys, sorry, the internet just crashed again, and I don't know what happened. I We do have a thunderstorm going on outside, so I don't know whether that is why the connection dropped off or what happened. But anyways, I'll bring her back, and
Are we back?
yes, we are. But I don't know what happened. The internet just crashed. This happened last time also. I don't know why Instagram keeps on crashing.
So, well, here we are. Where did we leave off?
We were talking about how to heal from toxic narcissism.
Yes. Okay. So we were talking about boundaries. So setting a physical boundary, blocking this person from any way of contacting you, which, as I was saying, that's a privilege in and of itself, being able to do
Right.
that. Working with a therapist to narcissists, being able to say things like, you're making me uncomfortable, or I don't want to do that, no, I'm not going to do that, not letting it be a negotiation, not letting it be a compromise, but very clearly stating, these are what my needs are, can you meet them? And having someone else being able to state, well, these are what my needs are, do you want to meet them? And letting that be a conversation rather than a negotiation, right? When you find yourself with a narcissist,
Right.
for me and one of my relationships, he felt he could control who I would hang out with. So he would tell me, well, I don't want you to go to this place to see these people because you might see someone that you've dated before. And he thought if he could control who I was around, then I wouldn't leave him, which of course I eventually had to because he wanted to control who I was around. Healthy relationships, you're just observing each other's journey. Unhealthy
Mm.
relationships with a narcissist, they're trying to control you. So working
Mm.
with a therapist to learn how to communicate, that's really inappropriate that you asked me to do that. And we need to talk about why this is important to you, that you control who I'm around, because you're not allowed to control me. I'm in control of myself. You can join me for this journey and observe it with fun, right? But
Right.
you can't
Right.
try to control me and make me the side character in your main story. That's just never going to
Yeah.
be a healthy relationship. So learning how to
Right.
set those boundaries from a place of
But but
empowerment.
but Morgan, how do we differentiate that this is just toxic behavior and this is like a pure narcissistic behavior and a narcissist person? How do
So
we get that?
so it would be in their response to the boundary. When you experience that, if someone it tries to control you, you experience that draining energy of like, oh, I'm
Mm,
losing my sovereignty, right?
mm,
And
yes.
start to lose that energy, then you
Mm,
you step into your power, right? You
mm,
express what you need. I need you to not control me, right? And
mm,
if they start to negotiate with that and
mm,
gaslight you and tell you how it's your fault, you're the one who needs to apologize, you're the one who did something wrong, even if like they're the one who cheated on you, but suddenly it's your fault that they cheated. I've had a few of those relationships with narcissists. That's the
mm,
sign you're dealing with a toxic narcissist who does not want to heal. You're dealing with
mm,
a karmic contract that you're being asked to step into your power to say, you cannot take my freedom. I am a spiritual warrior and I refuse to be controlled by anyone. I am connected with my higher self. I'm going to stand in my power. And from that place, you don't get to talk to me anymore. You don't get to be a part of my journey anymore. And in doing so, you make space for the people who are interested in healing themselves. If you set a
mm,
boundary with someone and they immediately either apologize or make a plan to respect that boundary, then you're dealing with someone who's just like you, a spiritual being having an imperfect human experience and learning how to heal themselves in the moment. If you're dealing with someone who has no interest in healing themselves, who think you have to do all the changing in order to make the relationship work, you got to get that person out of your life, whatever way you can.
It's really interesting. It's while I listen to you, because I think when a person doesn't know, now I'm talking about a healthy person, a normal person, a person who is a people pleaser, a person who is an empath, a people pleaser person who's an empath would not know how to set boundaries. That is how they let in such people. And I can speak from my own personal experience that when I did my healing, one of the, and I all talk about it in all my podcasts literally, is that one of the things that I learned in my healing was that self-reflection, looking inside of me and realizing, yes, I'm a people pleaser, yes, I'm an empath, but I'm toxic myself. Why? Because I lack to set boundaries. That means I was overstepping so many people's boundaries without knowing. And it's an interesting observation when you said that, because I remember people would tell me, well, we didn't use the term boundaries then, it's just you hurt my feelings, or I didn't like the way you spoke to me. And it was always, yes, if you're not a narcissist, you will always listen and hear the person out, right? And say, okay, okay. And maybe you'll make the same mistake again, but you kind of have that sense that, oh, I did this again. I was not supposed to talk to her. I was not supposed to raise my voice. And then maybe you could apologize, because you're toxic, because of the fact you don't have boundaries and you're a people pleaser, right? And now you're learning. But with the narcissist, they're going to show resistance, and it's all your fault. Like you said, it's going to be gaslighted. They're going to project that you are the wrong person, not them. They're not doing anything. They're just trying to protect you and look out for you. And for us, we need to learn to set boundaries, and see if we lack boundaries, if we're going through our healing and we're in pain, we have to understand that we've been toxic because of not having boundaries, toxic towards ourselves, and maybe toxic towards some good people. And then really understand and dismantle, and then learn and unlearn and then relearn uh, how boundaries can play such an important role for ourselves and for everybody around.
Absolutely. And that requires a deep level of self-forgiveness, because even
Yes,
when we're talking about these cultural norms that are so toxic, we chose this life for ourselves, right? Coming into this incarnation at this time, we chose these challenges for ourselves in order to step more into our sovereignty, in order to step more into our divinity. But you have to forgive yourself for being a human. And to me, there's a quote that's said in the Jewish tradition, that's repeated at Seder's, that forgiveness is giving up the hope of ever changing the past. It's not saying
yes.
it was okay that
Mm,
you or I hurt each other, right? It's not
mm,
saying it's okay that you ended up in a toxic relationship, but it's saying I recognize that I can't change that happened. And in fact, I can express gratitude for the fact that it happened, because I learned so much about myself and I am stronger because of
mm,
it. But if you find yourself, as so many of us do, trapped in that people pleasing, where you're constantly seeking someone else to people please,
validate.
it's easier to help someone else than it is to help yourself, right? It's
Mm,
easier to let someone else call the shots to a certain degree, and, until it becomes toxic, that you're just ignoring your own healing, right? So
mm,
give yourself permission to say, it's okay that I ignored my own healing for so long, because now I know that's what had to happen for me to reach this point. It had to
yeah.
suck that much for me to finally get
Yes.
so sick of myself that my
Yeah.
only choice was to seek a spiritual healing.
Yes, yes. And self-forgiveness is so essential. It's like in healing, that is one of the most important things, because then you learn to be compassionate. It's like your whole life expands completely. And self-forgiveness is allowing yourself to forgive yourself for not knowing. You did what you did from the lack of not knowing. And now you feel gratitude for the fact you know, and you can change the present. And I think that should be hopefully very empowering for people, because for me that was a game changer when I realized that, okay, I can recognize why this happened, why I let it happen, and now I have the power to change it. Oh, wow. So I think, I hope, and I think that it will help others as well. Morgan, you talk about yoga a lot. Let's talk a little bit about that. How has yoga helped you personally first? Let's talk about that.
So I'll go back to my yoga origin story. I got into yoga because I had broke up with my college boyfriend. I was completely heartbroken, not because I still wanted to be in that relationship, but because I thought that I was supposed to be in a relationship. I didn't realize it was okay to be single. I was chronically monogamous. I thought that I always needed a partner. And
Mm,
my friend invited me to a yoga class, and I felt so good after. I'd never felt more like myself since I was a child, right? And
right.
yoga helps me connect to my body. And that's how spirit communicates with us. It doesn't communicate in a man-made language through thoughts. It communicates it through the feelings in your body. So yoga allows me the space to actually feel, oh, this is what feels good in my body. This is what gives me positive, high vibrational energy, so that I know, oh, this feels bad. This is low vibration. This is not energy that's going to help my highest healing. So having an asana yoga practice, doing the stretches, and teaching those stretches just gives people that little inkling into, like, your body is supposed to feel good. You're not supposed to be in pain. You're not supposed to experience chronic anxiety and the disease that comes along with that stress, right? It just gives you that choice of knowing, oh, I can feel good all the time. I can live in joy all the time. And as I've gotten deeper into the yoga practice over the past 16 years, I've gotten deeper into the psychic development practices, such as chanting, which help clear my ego away, helps calm down my monkey mind, my stream of consciousness thoughts, which are all
Mm,
bullshit. It helps
mm,
me, and in addition to chanting, doing the what's the word I'm looking for? The pratyahara, the withdrawal of the senses, so that I can
mm,
experience concentration and meditation. That's what helps connect me to my deepest joy. And when I say joy, I'm not talking about happiness, which is an emotion. I'm talking about a
yes.
sustainable, high vibrational state of being that
Being here.
allows us to connect at all times to our highest selves, so that we can operate from a place of confidence that the work we're doing is, whether we're practicing yoga, walking your dog, having a podcast interview, working at a bank, whatever you're doing, is the correct thing. You're in complete alignment. Your mind, your body, and your spirit are supporting your next steps, so that you can live in flow, so that life can feel easy, easeful, and joyful. That's what yoga
Yeah.
does for me. That's what I teach my
I
clients.
Wow. So I think, correct me if I'm wrong, please. I think that you're saying that when you do yoga, it kind of brings you self-awareness about yourself. Is that what you're saying?
I would agree with that, but on an embodiment level, right? It's not
Okay.
intellectual, it's not in the thoughts, it's in the body. Because we can't
Okay.
trust our thoughts. So often they aren't even
Right.
our own. But you can
Yes.
trust your body's feelings. And that's where the intuition is. The intuition is in the body.
Your
So
gut.
you know,
Yes.
something feels good, you keep doing
Yeah.
it. Something
You're
feels
right.
off, you got to set a boundary.
Yeah, that's so. I read, I don't know, I read today somewhere. They said, don't listen to your brain, listen to your heart. That was really interesting because we would always heard that don't listen to your heart. Heart is too soft, so it will go easy on you. So that was really insightful because, yes, like you said, we don't even know that thought is ours or not because we as brains they absorb so much from around. So it's just about having that sense of awareness, and where we connected with our inner self, with our true self, I think we can kind of distinguish between what's ours to own and what's ours not to own, and just let it go.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that phrase, just let it go, is it's so important, because that's essentially what you do. But
Mm,
it feels so complicated because it's so pre-programmed into us, our thoughts and
yes.
what we should be doing, and then the life we should be living, from our cultures, from our families, from whatever karmic stuff we came into this lifetime with. But
Mm,
ultimately, the spiritual process is a process of this constant unsheathing, of releasing who we think we are, so that we can feel who we actually are. And that
mm.
never changes.
Oh, wow. So, Morgan, let's say if I've never done yoga. I really want to learn it. It's been a year that I'm trying to, but I really can't find someone here. So for a beginner, right? How, let's say supposedly I've tried to become your client and enter your course. How do you teach someone who's has no understanding about yoga and wants to learn through yoga to heal their trauma?
So the beautiful practice of yoga in modern society, we often see people starting with the asana practice. So it's where you would put out your mat and learn to do a few different stretches and a few different poses that help your body slowly begin to open up. And what you're neurologically doing with those stretches is allowing your nervous system to release the trauma and the emotions that it's holding on to, so that you can complete that emotional processing, so that you can move forward without the past dragging you down. So for absolute beginners, we start with just very simple practices. I recommend often a restorative practice for absolute beginners. I also call it like adult nap time, because you're using a ton of pillows and blankets. You get really comfortable and you start to learn how to relax your body. And so many of us don't even know how to unclench even just a
Yeah.
little bit in order to
Yeah.
allow in that deeper healing. But in the tradition of yoga, the asana practice is actually the third step. You start with what's called the yamas and the niyamas. You start with what you don't do. So like you shouldn't lie, you shouldn't steal, right? And then what you should do, right? You should practice honesty and clarity and truthfulness and kindness, right? And nonviolence. All these things are very similar to like the 10 Commandments. And then the third step is the asana practice. But we kind of skip those first two steps in the modern yoga practice. You don't learn about those until you perhaps get into a teacher training. So with newer students, I'll start to plant those seeds of theming classes around, for example, nonviolence or ahimsa, which includes nonviolence of thought, right? By giving people affirmations while they practice restorative poses. Or I'll do what in the Buddhist tradition is called the metta practice, in order to help people learn how to experience compassion from an open-hearted place while doing an open-hearted physical yoga pose, so that they can experience in their bodies what their spirit really wants to experience, which is connection.
Right. Interesting. Morgan, do you think that yoga and meditation are interlinked?
100%. Yoga is a form of meditation. Yeah,
Oh,
absolutely. So
okay.
meditation just means being present in the mindful in this moment in mindfulness.
Yeah.
And
Right.
yoga is a tool. It's a technique to get to mindfulness.
Interesting. Because I've been doing a meditation for over a year now, and I've just added a bit of crystals to that practice, and I just sit and yay, I just sit and
All my
sit
friends,
with
all
my
my
crystals.
friends.
Yes, yes. And I just kind of hold them and yes, just try to come every time I have a thought. I've kind of trained my mind that I don't need to indulge in it. It's just a thought, just let it float away. It's just like a cloud. And then just every time when I'm really getting carried away with the thought because previously I'd added emotion to it, I would just become more present by just bringing my focus to my breathing and really observing how I breathe and how my body moves while I'm breathing, and it will kind of like just interrupt and break the thought. And I think if you do it practice it a couple of times or a lot of times, you kind of have that control, that self control over your thought process, and your sense of awareness kind of rise. And it's really empowering because you learn so many things when you just sit and you let your head get like your thoughts get empty. You learn that the some of those thoughts were never yours to begin with, and you're like, oh my god, why I've been indulging in the thoughts for so many years, and I didn't even know that they're not mine. So it's really interesting doing meditation and now wanting to do yoga. I think that will be really beneficial for me. What do you think?
So, of course, absolutely. So, but yoga, from its direct translation, means to yoke, or to make a union, and it means connecting
Okay.
the breath and the feelings of the body. And most
Okay.
people have to move their body in order to make that connection. And there are many techniques within the world and the many lineages of yoga that allow you to connect to that. But for me, it's always been about finding the right teacher at the right time. And I've at this
Mm,
point had thousands of teachers. But one of the
mm,
things that I was told in my first teacher training many years ago is that there is nothing yoga isn't. So you can do
mm,
yoga standing in line at the bank. You can do yoga washing your dishes, right? Just it becomes a meditation. As long as you're feeling what it feels like to breathe, you're practicing yoga. If you're talking
mm.
about an asana practice, if you're doing the more traditional yoga poses with a mat
Physical.
laid out. So that's,
Mm,
you use the word self-control. I would use the word self-discipline. And often we
mm,
hear the word discipline and we think like, oh no, I'm in trouble. I'm being disciplined. There's a punishment. But I
mm,
reframe it where discipline is just about doing what feels good. And so often we deny that of ourselves, right? Like
mm,
I can't tell you how many times I myself have been like, oh yeah, I should go to a yoga class today. And I just don't get around to it. Even though I love yoga, I know I'm going to feel better afterwards. I know if I
mm,
do it first thing in the morning, my whole day goes better. For some reason, my thoughts get in the way and they're like, okay, but first I need to reorganize my whole kitchen. So I'm going to go do that first. And
yeah,
so when
that
you
makes
bring in that element of self-discipline where you have to choose the things that you actually enjoy doing that connect
mm,
you to your body, that connect you to your breath. And that's what
mm,
truly allows you that element of freedom to live in flow. So you as a
yeah.
beginner who has a meditation practice, which is much more advanced to have a seated meditation practice in the yoga world, that just comes later on in the lineage. I would suggest to you, if you can't find a yoga teacher in your direct community, finding online teachers. I love the app Insight Timer, where I teach as a teacher. All day long, there are people teaching yoga. And you just find the teachers that you really resonate with, that you feel this little inner, like, oh, this is the person. You feel this good
Yeah.
energy from them.
Yes,
And then you
yes.
just you put it in your calendar and you make it a
Mm,
priority. Every time this person teaches, I'm gonna go hang out with them, even if you're just kind of sitting and staring at them doing the yoga. That was my
yeah.
yoga practice when I first started. And I was just graduated from college, and I was just curled up in a ball, and I turned on the TV and there was a yoga class happening on TV, and it was these beautiful women in these beautiful settings, and I would just watch them practice yoga,
Mm,
mesmerized. And then eventually I was like, I guess I could try to do some of these poses. And it evolved from there to going to class. And now, 20 years later, here I am teaching yoga around the world. But
yeah.
it's all about finding the right teacher at the right time by trusting
Time.
your body, right? When your
Yeah.
body says, this person is making me happy, this person is
Yeah.
bringing me joy, you make it a priority to bring them into your life more.
Makes sense. Makes sense. I know that we lost 30 minutes of our conversation because of the crash. And before that, we were talking a little about boundaries. I want to go back to it again. And I wanted you to shed some light on people who've never had boundaries, people who don't know about boundaries, they're just learning about boundaries. How can they learn to set healthy boundaries for themselves?
So I think the first step is learning how to set boundaries with yourself. Right? So if
Mm,
there are unhealthy habits that you have in your life, you need to redirect your energy, not by just stopping those habits full stop, but by creating new habits, right? So
I know
if you're,
interrupting.
what's that?
Sorry, I'm saying by
Interrupting.
interrupting. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. And
Mm,
doing something that feels good, right? So an example would be for people who are trying to lose weight, right? That's you're trying to manifest in the negative, you're trying to get rid of something, which is incredibly hard. But if you just focus on, well, I just want to try one new recipe a week that has more vegetables in it. It's much easier to make those small incremental changes without an attachment to the end result. And that's the
mm,
secret to true joy, right? Is non-attachment. Is just being grateful for where you're at, even for all the
mm,
decisions that led to this moment, that left you in a body that feels uncomfortable, that might be unhealthy, that feels diseased. And then, well, now you have a little bit more knowledge. You know you want something else. So you get to choose what that is. And then you just get to experiment with yourself. So for me, as someone who has gained and lost 50 pounds in my life, it was the boundary was, well, I'm only going to have things in my house that I know give me good energy. So having a ton of ice cream in my house doesn't give me good energy. So I'm going to set
mm,
that boundary with myself that if I'm going to have ice cream, I'm going to have to leave the house and walk to the ice cream shop to get myself a cone. And that's the boundary I'm going to set. when it comes to narcissistic relationships, learning how to set boundaries is all about incrementally replacing the conversations you have with that person with words of empowerment. So if
Mm.
you have someone in your life who's trying to control you, it's creating a conversation around why they're trying to control you, while standing in your sovereignty and telling yourself affirmatively, no one can control me. I am in control of myself. I am in control of myself. But if you've never set boundaries in your life, you have to start with yourself before you go outside of yourself.
Interesting. That's really interesting. I never heard somebody say that if you want to set boundaries, you have to really learn. It makes sense because you have to learn to set them for yourself and feel them and experience them and see how they're empowering and healthy for you. And then you can go to the next step by putting in place boundaries with people, right? That was absolutely beautiful. I saw this post on your page and I wanted to ask you, you said, what you seek is seeking you, and I know a lot about it and stuff, but I really needed uh your theory. What is your theory around it? Because I read your post and I was like, I need her to talk about this.
Yes. So this is actually a quote from a Rumi poem, right? This
Yeah.
the Persian poet Rumi. He tells us what you seek is seeking you, and what we're all seeking, our deepest joy. Our deepest joy is seeking us. If you're looking for the
Right.
perfect job, the perfect employer is looking for you. If you're looking for your soul family, your soulmates, they also are seeking you. The things that you're seeking that aren't seeking you aren't for
Mm,
you. If you're chasing something, it's not for you, right? And that's
mm,
your own inner narcissist that somehow is telling you, like, I want what I can't have. That's a
mm.
pattern of
The
toxicity
ego,
that
right?
ourselves,
Mm,
right?
mm.
So
Yeah.
what you seek is seeking you means it should be easy what you're bringing
Right.
into your life. It should be easy when you meet the people who are part of your soul family. If you're just like, oh, I'm so happy that we're here again in this lifetime
Yeah.
together. Now we get to know each other, right? If it feels
Yeah.
hard, if you're already butting heads, even from the moment you meet, you're going to find
Mm,
yourself stuck in that toxic pattern. But
mm.
that's how I interpret that. That if
Yes.
you're living in flow, what you seek, your deepest joy, your deepest sovereign freedom, that it is also seeking you. It wants you, and you will find each other if you just get out of your own way.
Yes, absolutely. I love that. I totally love that. Okay. How can a person feel less burnt out these days? With social media, with so much awareness, with so much going on, how does a person feel less burnt out?
So the yoga term for this is svadhisthaya, and it refers to self-study. You learn
Mm,
how to observe yourself so that you notice when you're doing things that drain you of energy, whether it's scrolling through social media for hours on end, which I am so guilty of. All of us are. We're here right
yeah.
now. But there can be moments of real wisdom on social
Yes.
media, right? But learning how to study yourself and to make
Mm,
that space to have that relationship with yourself, that you are not that which thinks, you are not that which feels your body, you are not that which has experiences, you are that which observes the whole thing. So you
mm,
find a way to learn how to have that observational practice of what's happening. And for me, meditation, a seated meditation, is where I make space for that. I learn how to observe my thoughts without getting my talons into them,
mm,
and how to what I learned what my true voice is, which comes from deep in my gut, right?
mm,
The practice of human design has been very useful for me for learning how to observe how different parts of my body respond to different things, what gates are opened or closed. That might be something your audience might be interested in looking into, is human design. The other way that we can create this relationship to self-study is through, of course, the yoga practice, of just getting on your mat and saying, oh, this pose feels good today. This pose is uncomfortable. And just
mm,
feeling your body that difference without the judgment of, oh, it feels uncomfortable for this reason and it's a bad thing. But just
mm,
allowing yourself that moment of space between experience and judgment to observe, oh, when I move my arm like this, I feel it here. And just letting that be okay. Or when
yeah,
I breathe in here, I feel more full of breath and I feel more relaxed. And then when you
mm,
exhale, you say, oh, and when I exhale, it feels like this, right?
Mm.
Without holding on to it, without needing it to be anything other than what it is, withholding that judgment. But learning that practice of svadhisthaya, of self-study, that's the answer to your question from the yoga
Yeah.
tradition.
Yes, absolutely. I think that's so right. I think we feel more burnt out in life is also because we feel that disconnect from within us, and like it's a disconnect from our soul, and because I think it's easier to make others happy but not ourselves. We're really hard on ourselves, and I think if we were more kinder to ourselves like we are to others, we would be in such a better place because we'll come from a more loving, compassionate place because we feel that fulfillment within us. So it's really about really when you're feeling burnt out. I think that's your body's way of communicating that, hey, I'm here, I need some time. And you just kind of finding that space where you can sit with yourself and just kind of reconnect with your true authentic self and see what your body needs. Usually just I usually tell clients is just put your one hand on your heart and one on your stomach and just ask your body, what can I do for you? What can I do? And it really kind of like your shoulders just come down, the tension kind of drops because you just feel so connected. You're touching the part of your body and you're really truly asking yourself, what is that you want? So I think that these are few tips you and I can share for people who are feeling really burnt out, because I think this was really going on a lot on social media. Everybody's been talking about burnt out. So I really wanted to bring that in and share a few tips from both of us. I'm so grateful that you came forward and you did this podcast, and I learned so much about yoga. It's something I want to dive in, and of course, I will look into your program and the online thing. Uh, what message, a little about your program, and then what message would you want to give to the audience as well, along with it?
Yeah, so I have an online yoga studio called Splendid Yoga Online. It's all pre-recorded classes. It's all levels from absolute beginners to people who are ready to touch their toes to their head and levitate. I also talk a lot about the anatomy of yoga to understand just how your body works and how that relates to yoga, as well as the philosophy behind yoga, going through the yamas and the niyamas that I mentioned. And this is actually a course that I taught through the University of California, Santa Barbara, that I put together during the pandemic and now offer to the public. So you can, if you follow me, you can click on the link in my profile or go to splendid.yoga/online. It's my website, splendid.yoga, to learn more about that. And you'll get a free week of yoga. You can check out all the classes and see if it resonates with you before you decide to sign up. Most of the classes are around 20 minutes, so it's pretty accessible. Some of the more advanced classes go up to an hour, but I find 20 minutes of the movement practice is usually enough for most people to get them into their bodies, really feeling what it feels like to feel good in their
Right,
body.
right.
And then what was
So
your
you
second?
offer online. So you offer online classes, right? You're saying we could just buy the course and then just do it in whatever time we have for ourselves on
Yeah,
on the
they're all
globe.
recorded. Yeah.
Yeah, okay, gotcha. So you don't do the live sessions; they're just recorded sessions.
I offer live sessions through Insight Timer, through the Insight
Oh,
Timer app. And
okay.
yeah, those I don't post anywhere. You just, if you can catch me live. So I'm teaching tomorrow morning, I believe at 9 a.m. I'll be teaching an advanced class on Insight Timer. So that's the best place to connect with me live.
Awesome, awesome. Well, thank you so much, Morgan. Anything you would like to say to people who are listening to you right now, who are in trauma, who are in pain, who are dealing with narcissism? Any quick message to them?
Absolutely, my friend. I've been where you are. I know how it feels like there's no escape. And if you can give yourself, as you said, just one hand on your heart and one hand on your belly and ask your body what it needs, your body will never lie to you. Your thoughts lie to you all day long,
All
but
the
your
time.
body will never lie to you. But don't forget, you came here to feel good. You came here to learn how to transcend suffering, to observe the suffering of the world from a place of open-hearted compassion. That is your spiritual journey, is to learn how to constantly ask your heart to stay open amidst so much of your own personal suffering and the constant suffering that happens in this world. But this world was supposed to be fun. We're supposed to come here and live in joy and experience what joy feels like in a 3D sensational reality. So whatever you do in your life that brings you joy, do more of it. Whatever brings you suffering, set that boundary, get it out of there.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think that's the best way to wrap it up, guys. If you're going through a lot of pain, if you're still trying to figure out, it doesn't matter if you're not being able to take action. As long as you're on that journey of understanding, that is what matters. I'm sending you all so much love. I hope you learned a lot about yoga because I more certainly did. Take care of yourselves. I will tag her like always, and you can always connect with her. Thank you so much, Morgan. Take good care of yourself. I'm sending you so much love.
Thank you, my dear. We'll talk soon.
Bye.